Yeah, the Wednesday edition, the triumphant return edition, Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Offices, One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. Joshie DiMaggio is with me as well, producer Tiny Hands, Hunter Vaughn, and Pablo Iglesias back at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. We've got a full cast of characters today as I return from Nashville. So do want to unpack my road trip a little bit. Lots to get to on that front. And then we're talking football the rest of the way. Big game this weekend between the Packers and the Vikings. I view it, and we will get to this a bit more in a minute, as kind of you're a quarter of the way through the season NFC North championship game. Almost like, you know how they have that midseason title in the NBA now? Like, I almost view this as that for the NFC North. And that is by no means me checking out on the Detroit Lions, who are still very much alive and have a very good opportunity to still win the NFC North. But I think when it comes to the two teams that are the hottest right now in the NFC North, it is clearly the Vikings at 3-0 and the Packers, who have won 2 games without Jordan Love and will likely have him back this weekend. So we'll get to all that. Of course, we'll play one word for every NFL team following week 3 in the NFL. We'll take a look at the state of the NFC North and then take a little Wednesday reading from the Players Tribune as Aaron Jones says his formal goodbye to Green Bay on the Players Tribune this morning. But I'm back, baby. It's good to be back. Joshie, thank you for filling in the last 2 shows, episodes 159 and 160 of Mr. Irrelevant. Appreciate you stepping in and knocking it out of the park from what I hear. Now, to be real honest with you, I didn't watch. Other than the 15 minutes I joined you on Monday, I heard 0 seconds. So you might have done a crap job, and I wouldn't know. So, but thank you nonetheless for stepping in. How did it go from your perspective? It went okay?
I thought it went well. Me and Hunter had some fun. We snuck some Brewers talk in on Friday.
Good.
And then we went wall-to-wall Packers. I had some takes. I played some of my own appearances on Jen Gabe and Chewy.
Very humble, yeah.
Yeah, pat on the back to me for promoting my own content. But I think after we got over the technical difficulty, which was 100% my fault on Monday, things went well.
Oh, so user error.
Yes,
right.
It's just me.
I appreciate your admission. We go to the Everlight Solar Studio now. Hunter, how'd Joshie do from your perspective? You are the esteemed producer of this program. This is episode 161. I would say you've probably produced about 153 of those. You haven't missed many. How did he rank up amongst those other 152 or 151, if you will?
If I were to power rank among all of them, one of 152, I would say Josh's 2 episodes, he's probably up into the he's top 5 episodes all time. I mean, you've had some really good episodes, but I think if we had consistent Josh, he could overtake you. It was very well done.
Wow, I leave for 2 episodes, and you guys, rather than going at each other's necks, are like a dynamic duo all of a sudden.
You got Wally Pip.
The stuff that happens, dude, when you disappear. It's good to see, but good to be back with you. So I want to just recap my Nashville trip a little bit. So, Joshie, just correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if I told you this. So my girlfriend forgot her luggage on the way down to Nashville. Did I tell you this?
This is the first I'm hearing that.
All right, Hunter, have I told you this?
No, I had no idea that. Like, how do you?
All right,
I'm so many
glad.
questions.
Good. All right, so here we go. All right, so we drove down to Nashville. So we get up to we get up to the Green Bay area where my mom lives, and we went down with my mom and her boyfriend, and then it was me and my girlfriend. It was the 4 of us going down to Nashville, and so we get up to stay essentially 5 hours or so Thursday night before leaving. We left 3 a.m. Central Time on Friday morning to drive down to Nashville. And we got up there about 10:30. All in all, the Door County Distillery's flowing. None of us are driving right away at 3 a.m. All of a sudden, it's 2 a.m. And we're still awake. And we're playing Song Quiz on Alexa. You guys ever play Song Quiz? Very good stuff. No. Anyway, so it gets to about 2:15. I go, yeah, I need to nap at the very least for 45 minutes. So me and the lady, we lay down. We get back up about 45 minutes later. We get right in the car and we crash, right? So long story short, we drive. We take a pit stop in northern Kentucky. Actually, it was southern Kentucky, close to Bowling Green. My girlfriend looks at me as I'm out of the car. I'm stretching. I'm grabbing some stuff from a gas station. She goes, I think I forgot my suitcase. I go, no, you didn't. What do you mean?
Like, there's no way.
I forgot my suitcase. I forgot my suitcase in your trunk, and we're not in my car. I go, oh my God, you're right. So when we had gotten there the night prior, we took everything out of the back seat, didn't take her suitcase out of the trunk, and then it was 3 a.m. We had had a few cocktails. We were tired. We were groggy. We just loaded up what we took out of the back seat. We didn't take her suitcase out of the trunk. So it's partially my fault. I'll take 50% of the blame. So we realized this in Kentucky. We're not turning around.
No.
So we stop at our local TJ Maxx, drop, good $250, $300. She's got a great new wardrobe. She looked great. And that was that.
Good drop there.
That's
Good
how
job.
we started the trip. Yeah, thank you. That's how we started the trip. She did. I mean, she looks stunning. She's gorgeous. And, so that's how we started the trip. Not one tear shed by her, by the way. So I want to give her credit on that. She didn't shed a tear. She was obviously a little bit pissed off, as anybody would be. But, she had her backpack full of, makeup and toiletries and all that. So we didn't need to replace any of that.
That's the expensive stuff.
Correct.
That starts getting real crazy.
Correct. That would have been bad. And she even said at one point, I'm glad I didn't forget that. I'm glad it was the clothes. So we replaced the clothes. In fact, I think she would say upgraded the clothes, and that was fine. So that was the start of our trip. Okay? So then, Friday, Saturday, we're partying. We're on Broadway. We're having drinks. We're listening to bands. We're having a dandy old time dancing around, whatever. I did mention this to you on Monday. Sunday morning, I wake up. And we get up early. It's a noon kickoff in Nashville, same time as it is in Wisconsin. So we get up about 8 a.m. to get down to Broadway. So we go and grab a coffee, and I go, oh, my God, my right leg hurts. And I realize I have shin splints. So I'm limping around Nashville at this point. I'm being a baby. You know me. I'm gonna take all the sympathy I can get. So I'm probably exaggerating the limp. And, we're bouncing around Broadway. Packers fans everywhere. It was awesome. We go to the game, yada, yada. Good stuff. That's pretty much that. However, you played this video on Monday of me after I believe it was I think it was 3rd and 18 conversion for the Packers, that Malik Willis threw. So let's revisit the video that was played Monday, of me cheering at Nissan Stadium on Sunday. So I think you see the look, if you're watching on the YouTube stream, and if you're not, I think you see the look in my eyes there where I got power hungry. I started that Go Pack Go chant that ended up erupting through Nissan Stadium, and I was like, oh, I could do this all day. So long story short, we know the Packers end up winning. I have made sure that Hunter and Joshy have not watched this video. I have not shown this video to anybody yet. But I'm going to play it for you for the first time right now, Mr. Relevant. Now, I went on a little power trip. I'm not going to lie to you. But there was an awesome pedestrian bridge right outside Nissan Stadium. You cross that bridge to essentially get back to Broadway.
Fun story about that bridge is that's where I bought Taylor Swift tickets with my girlfriend to see her at the Eras Tour. Stood right there, said, we're close, let's buy them, let's go.
All right, so I imagine it probably wasn't quite as packed as the video you're about to see, because This is immediately after the game, and you will see all Packers fans, right? It's just packed with Packers fans as we walk back towards Broadway in Nashville. And as I mentioned, I'm setting this up correctly. I got a little power hungry. Here is me. I recorded this video on the pedestrian bridge on Broadway Street, or just off Broadway Street in Nashville, Tennessee. This is the first time anybody's seeing this. I intend to get made fun of immediately following the conclusion of this video. Roll the tape. Oh, that sucked. We can do better than that. All right, this is your warning. Da 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 da. Go Pack Go! Da 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 da. Go Pack Go! Da 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 da. Go Pack Go! Woo! All right, I'm going to give you each the floor. You can roast me. You can respond however you want. Hunter, I hear you first. Go ahead.
You flew way too close to the sun here, pal. Come on. And that is a chant that, like the guy said, you need to have a group that is ready to go for that. You can't just start doing that. I honestly didn't know what song you were even what you were doing at first. I was like, okay, Strouf had a few too many cocktails at the game. He's just rambling things off now. This is why I hesitate to laugh at your jokes. because I know the second that I do, you're going to think you're actually funny. And then this is what happens.
This is why I hesitate to laugh at your jokes. That's a good line. Yeah, that's fair. Joshy.
That video made me want to crawl out of my skin and somehow remove myself from even having to witness it. The immediate follow-up when no one responds but your better half there, you could do better than that, and then you hear well, you gotta warn us. You were the quintessential quote-unquote that guy.
Yeah.
You were that guy who's had a few too many Door counties and just starts yelling, thinking he owns the world, like he's some sort of cheerleader.
Look.
Some cheer maven.
I was riding high. I was having a good trip. And look, I hadn't consumed too much. It was 91 degrees outside. I was drinking more water than I was booze on Sunday. I behaved very well on Sunday. I told you this on Monday. Take my word for it. I did. I was like sober there. I was just.
That makes it so much.
Yeah,
I was
you shouldn't
just really
admit that.
Happy.
Yeah.
I was just. Yeah, that's probably fair. I was just really happy the Packers won in the way in which they won, right? 30-14 is a big victory. So I was riding high. It was the first time I had ever been at a Packers game not at Lambeau Field. And so it was a very cool experience for me as a lifelong Packers fan. And I was surrounded by Packers fans. So I felt like, what's the harm in this, you know? And so, Hunter, can you just do me a favor? Just play the first time I do the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then cut it off. I just want to hear me singing that, the lead up to the anthem. I know you do. Everybody does. Go ahead and just play the first time I do that. Ba-ba-ba-da-da-da-da. All right, cut it. All right, Joshy, say what you got to say because I have something to say on this.
I don't blame a single person for not knowing what's going on because you are so tone deaf.
Yeah.
That lead up, that sound we're all like is ingrained in our heads. You hit it with a ba da 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 da. Like there's no. It's hard to understand what you're going for there until you hear the Go Pack Go.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that until I checked the tape. I thought I crushed it, to be real honest with you. And then I checked the tape a little bit later. I was like, all right, did this turn out? Is there something to use from this? You know, could this go on TikTok? Like, right? So I'm thinking with my content brain, could I throw this out into the ether with people being like, that is awesome, right? If that's the response. I watched it back and go, that is the biggest pile of dog crap I've ever produced.
Yep.
Embarrassing.
Yep.
And I actually take pride. I sing karaoke occasionally. I was in musicals growing up. Like, I think I have a decent voice. By no means am I trying out for American Idol, but I think I can hit a chorus, or I can hit I can hit it okay. I totally failed here.
Yeah.
That is nothing near the Go Pack
That's
Go
out of your
chant.
range.
Now, 2 weeks ago, you, along with Ben Brust and Kyle Wallace, ripped apart Brad Nortman for not being able to sing when you guys did that Colts song. So I think you might owe Brad an apology because your singing was that bad, Strouf.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I probably do owe Brad an apology because that is the most tone deaf thing I've ever done in my entire life. So embarrassed is probably one word. However, the good news about Alex Strouf that I think the two of you know better than most, I don't feel embarrassment. It's just not really in my DNA.
Feel for you.
David on the YouTube chat says, everybody sounds good when you are 3 tequilas deep, Strouf. To be fair, your singing voice is no better than mine. Well, that doesn't make me feel a whole lot better, but thanks for the support nonetheless, David. Yeah, so essentially that's the quick recap on Nashville. Outside of, there were some great meals, but I mean, I'm not gonna waste time on that. The Packers experience is why I was there, and it was it certainly delivered.
I just want to put this out there. I will never attend a Packers game with you. I can't.
Why?
I can't have a fist pumper, Go Pack Go chanter, and a ba da 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 guy. I can't be around.
So
that
in my
person.
defense, that's the first time I've done the ba da 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 that guy or been that guy. I'm a fist pumper. I get pumped up as Packers fans should. I was very excited because, as I mentioned, that was right after whatever it was, like a 3rd and 18 conversion that I thought Malik Willis had no shot of converting. So I was very excited because that was early enough on in the game where it was still kind of close. It was before it was 8 sacks in and a 16-point blowout. But it was it was quite entertaining.
Over under 2.5 Go Pack Goes you started from the stands.
2.5 under. I think it was just 2. I think it was just 2.
Oh, just missed the under.
Conservative.
Yeah,
No.
and you saw one of the recorded ones. Yeah.
Now, Josh, I have a question. If you couldn't sit by Strouf being a Go Pack Go guy, now I know you're not a Cowboys fan, but last season my wife and I went to the Cowboys-Eagles game.
Uh-oh.
And so Dak does his thing for his pre-snap cadence where he goes, yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
Every
Yeah.
time. And that has become a thing that like fans will say too before the ball is snapped. I started that in my section. Like, is that bad too, or am I clear because like that's bad?
I never want to be near the chant starter.
Why?
It's not really a chant though. I think
Are
I'm
you
in
not
the
a
clear.
chant guy?
No, I'm not a chant guy. The reason I'm anti-chant is the person who's usually doing it is usually that guy, like I described you as.
Yeah.
It is the person who's most often the drunkest or the loudest and most obnoxious.
I fall into the latter category. Yeah.
You hit that one. And not that I'm accusing you of this, but it's a generality. That person, honestly, most of the time is barely even paying attention to the game. And they're yelling like they are, like they're John Madden out there.
Actually, I do have a story on this before I tell you about Door County Distillery and we talk upcoming football. When I was in high school, believe it or not, I typically led our fan section.
Stunner.
Denmark High School. Go Vikings. Only time I'll say that. Go Vikings, obviously. It's Vikings week for the Packers, but I was a Denmark Viking. We were playing at City Stadium in Green Bay. We were playing Green Bay East. I remember this very vividly because it was like, whoa, what are we doing? So there was a girl I went to high school with, Joshy, and she probably fell into that category where she really wasn't paying attention. She just wanted to yell, which is fine, right? Like, support your high school. I like that you're out there. However,
high school, college, I can live with that.
she was yelling at me because I wasn't starting a chant. So she tried to start a defense chant. Guess what side of the ball Denmark was on when she did that?
Offense.
That would be correct. That would be
Oof,
correct.
that's
And
tough.
That's a tough look. That is a tough look. All right. Well, anyway, as we reminisce on the Nashville trip, it was a good time, but good to be back. Lots to get to, as you can tell, with the upcoming week and some of the one-word stuff we're going to play. But before we do all that, I got to tell you about my friends at Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. What do you got? What do you need? Need vodka? They got you. Cherry vodka? Oh, yeah. Brandy? Cherry brandy. Apple brandy. Good for the fall. Both of those you can get from Door County Distillery. I say football season is whiskey season. It's up to you if you feel the same way. 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey, the delicious bourbon, the rye whiskey, all the in-betweens. You can find it at a retailer nearest you. Liquor stores everywhere, all over the state of Wisconsin. You can visit their website, too, doorcountydistillery.com. If you're looking to track down a specific product, they've got a great search tool. If you're looking for something specific, you can find all the stores that they have that located in. And you can also check out their huge list of unique cocktail recipes on their website by scanning the QR code on the YouTube stream or heading to their website, doorcountydistillery.com is the website, doorcountydistillery.com. All right, I feel like, 20 minutes in, we recapped the Nashville trip. You guys didn't roast me too bad. I feel like I'm a little bit unscathed. I think you let me go a little bit soft there.
That's where you are you, because I feel like I was pretty mean.
For you?
Yeah. You were a douche. If you need that, if you need me to be more clear.
Yeah, I'm a douche. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't know that
The most douchiest douche to ever douche in Nashville.
No, hold on. Whoa.
There's a lot of douches in Nashville too.
Like, it was
Door County
bad.
Distillery. Shut up. We're back at 60. Where in the world is Door County Distillery today? It brings me to Sugar River Pizza, the legendary in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Let's go to the bar. Let's see what they've got. We're here in the beautiful bar at Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie. My guy Kyle just mixed me up a cherry brandy old fashioned with the cherry brandy from Door County Distillery. It's delicious. I tell you it all the time. It's proving it right here. The best.
I'll tell you what, Kyle can make a cocktail.
All right, power ranking. Top 3 drinks to have from Door County Distillery. We're going 3-1. Number 3, it's a split decision, but they're both on the rocks. Either the 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey or my personal favorite, the bourbon. Right on the rocks. Nice Sunday night in the weekend. I love it. That's number 3. Number 2, the Cherry Cosmo with that green bottle of gin. That thing tastes like summer. It's unbelievable. It's delicious. You got to try it. Check out the recipe. DoorCountyDistillery.com. Number 1, it's in my left hand right now. with the cherry brandy, made with local Door County cherries, the cherry brandy old fashioned. That's my list, but there's no wrong answers. You got to find out for yourself. DoorCountyDistillery.com. Let me know what you think in the comments below. There you have it, Door County Distillery. I can't get over what Hunter just called me. That was, I said you weren't mean enough, and then I think you cut a little too deep. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to be your friend. I was trying to be nice, but if you're going to really ask what I think, I would have been ashamed to be around you. That doesn't happen very often. I really don't care what people do at a game as long as you're not, belligerent and rude to other people. But, I would have walked away from you.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't argue with that. Thank God my better half didn't mind. Because I could have left Nashville single if it was probably most people. That could have been a major turnoff. Well, anyway. All right, big one this weekend, man. 3-0 Minnesota Vikings with wins over the Houston Texans and San Francisco 49ers the last 2 weeks. And I get the 49ers aren't the 49ers that we're used to with all the injuries they're dealing with. And Houston is still kind of an up-and-coming team, so that'll happen. But Minnesota has debatably through 3 weeks, and maybe it's not a huge debate, the best defense in football. They look like the real deal. And this is going to be my formal apology to Vikings fans, because I know we have so many watching the program. I was wrong. I was wrong about the Minnesota Vikings. I thought it would be one of those, what do we call it, a year from hell or a crappy year, or kind of a reset year for them as they kind of move on from Kirk Cousins. They're using, at least we anticipated and thought, they're using Sam Darnold as a stopgap QB, and they'd win some games. They'd be somewhere between that 6 and 8 win mark. I don't think they're going to be, they might be an 8-win team, but I think that's the low end now after they start 3-0. I think this Minnesota team's for real. And through 3 weeks, they look like the best in the NFC. Not the NFC North. They look like the best team in the NFC through 3 weeks. They come to Lambeau this Sunday, and the Packers likely have Jordan Love back. Adam Schefter saying this morning on Joshy's show, Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, weekday morning, 7 to 9 on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. He thinks Jordan Love will be the quarterback this weekend. He warmed up last week. He practiced a few times last week. It looks like Jordan Love will make his return for a huge game Sunday at noon at Lambeau Field between the Packers and the Vikings. I remember a year ago, I was reminiscing on this with Hunter during the pregame, our pre-show meeting. Week 4 last year was that Thursday night game between the Lions and the Packers, in which the Lions just blew out the Packers. It was not pretty. I broke my own rule of leaving a game early. It was that bad because it was just a blowout and I wanted to beat traffic. So as I view it, though, and as I set that game up last year at this time, I said it's kind of a quarter of the season mark first place game. It'll show you really if A, Minnesota is for real. If they end up winning, I think we would all go with the answer yes. And B, how good are the Packers? Because they're playing a really, really good defense. This is a huge, kind of flag post mark, right? This is a good part to mark where the Packers are in the NFC. Now, Jordan Love hasn't played 3 weeks, so you can view that as a little bit concerning. But he's still a really good quarterback, right? You're not trotting Trevor Lawrence back there. I don't view Jordan Love as a fluke. I think he's a really good quarterback. And even coming off of an MCL sprain and missing a couple weeks, I still think he is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in a year that's been really weird. And when I say it's a year that's been really weird, just look across the sideline at who's playing quarterback for them. You guys know who leads the NFL in touchdown passes through 3 weeks? It's Sam Darnold with 8. He leads the league in touchdown passes. Jordan Love is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold, but statistically, Sam Darnold having quite the rebirth in Minnesota. It helps when you have the best receiver in football. It helps when you have a good O-line. It helps when you have a running back like Aaron Jones. But this defense puts them in positions to win games, and their offense is just doing the rest. So Darnold's 4 touchdown passes last week, no fluke against Houston, but it was a blowout. And that Houston offense, they are high-powered. They are a sexy offense, and they could get nothing going against this Minnesota defense last week. So, of course, naturally, I'm not concerned because I believe in Matt LaFleur. I think he's the coach of the year front-runner through 3 weeks and what he can scheme up offensively. I think the Packers will have the ability to score points. But this might turn out to be a slobber knocker of a 23-20 game or a 24-21 game. It could be relatively low scoring and a defensive battle because this Packers defense is no slouch either. Now, Hunter, you have a thought on both the Packers defense and really the Packers overall, given the competition they've played the last 2 weeks. Go ahead with that thought.
Yeah, I'm not really fully sold on this team, given that the two teams that they beat are going to be potentially looking to try and draft Shadur Sanders in the top 10. Like, that's where they're at as franchises. They have two of the worst O-lines in the league. Like, I would hope that you can get 8 sacks against them.
So I'm not going to argue with that, right? Like, I get where you're coming from on that. But let's keep in mind we knew this going into those games, too. When Jordan Love went down after that Philadelphia game, that whole week when we found out it wasn't long-term, he was only going to miss, somewhere between 2 and 6 weeks, I think we all kind of took a deep exhale and thought to ourselves, this couldn't have happened at a better time. This is the weakest part of the Packers schedule. Now, at the time, we didn't realize how good Minnesota was and how scrappy the Rams are who they play next week. But luckily, it looks like you're not going to be without Jordan Love for those games anyway. Now, when you look at the teams the Packers beat, A, you can only play who's in front of you. But B, I think it's important to acknowledge the way in which they did it. Yes, I get the teams they played were bad. And the teams they played in Indianapolis and Tennessee are two of the worst teams in the league. That AFC South is just a total disaster, man. Outside of Houston, who, again, lost to Minnesota this weekend, that division is horrible. Jacksonville is a dumpster fire. Indianapolis is probably a very small dumpster fire, and Tennessee and Jacksonville are just fully engulfed in flames. But all dumpster fires. But we knew that going in. And we should not take credit away from Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley and the way in which the defense handled it, right? I get it's a bad line, but 8 sacks is impressive no matter what NFL offensive line you're playing. To lead the league in turnovers through 3 weeks is impressive no matter the offenses you're playing. So I get your point, but you cannot take away the way in which they did it. And no matter how bad it is, the term any given Sunday exists for a reason. These are still NFL players playing NFL players. So the way in which the Packers have won the last few weeks should not be overlooked. But this is not an easy game coming up, right? This is a very good team the Packers are playing on Sunday, unlike the last 2 weeks. They were playing teams with serious issues, and they exposed said serious issues, as good teams in football do. Now, when you play a team like the Minnesota Vikings, it is going to be a ton harder to expose said issues. Now, the good news is you have a defense who is leading the league in turnovers. You have a safety in Xavier McKinney who is leading the league in interceptions. Sam Darnold is not perfect. That is a guy who still has interceptions on the air. It's not like he's got 8 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. You are playing a running back you are certainly familiar with and have seen his worst. You've seen his best as the former Packers running back, but you have also seen his worst when it comes to poorly timed fumbles, etc. So this is still a game in which the Packers need to show what they've done the last 2 weeks is no fluke. So to Hunter's point, yes, I get they've played Indy and Tennessee the last 2 weeks, who are not good teams. But what they have done against the not good teams cannot be overlooked. That's what makes this game so intriguing to me. Minnesota, what they have done certainly can't be overlooked. I don't care how beat up San Francisco is. It's still the Niners. I don't care the mistakes that Houston made offensively. It's still the Texans. Those are big wins for Minnesota and shows how good of a football team they are. This is a ginormous game at Lambeau Field on Sunday. We'll preview it a ton more coming up on Friday's show. But this game is a sexy, sexy, sexy Week 4 matchup. Joshy shook his head by the amount of times I said the word sexy. Which word has been used more today, Joshy? Douche or sexy?
I mean, douche.
Yeah.
But if you keep using sexy, you can bring it back up.
Would you agree with me, though? This game on Sunday? Sexy. It's a sexy matchup.
What do you mean by sexy? Explain sexy.
Yeah, you've got a Minnesota team who, by all means, as a Packers fan, I hate the Vikings. But I will not fail to acknowledge how well they've been playing through the first 3 weeks of the season. They have the best wide receiver in football. They have a good offense.
I think he might be the best player in football.
I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue with that. defensively, they have what looks like the best defense in football, at least the best defensive scheme in football.
Okay.
And the way they've held teams like the Niners and Texans in check the last 2 weeks has me a little bit worried about what this Packers offense, Jordan Love or no Jordan Love, can do. So I think that's what makes it sexy. And the Packers defense looks amazing, too.
I think I'm intrigued by this game because I think there might be some points scored.
You think so?
Yeah. I think the Vikings are a lot better than I expected. A whole lot better. I'm not ready to call them any sort of real contender. And that might be foolish, and we'll look back on that and say, but Sam Darnold, man. I don't know how much I can believe in it. Yeah. I do believe in Kevin O'Connell. I do think he's a good coach.
You believe in Brian Flores, obviously, as the D coordinator.
Yes, but if you remember, what was it, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
The Packers
shredded him. Yeah, they did.
He's not infallible. If he was infallible, he'd still be a head coach somewhere.
Good point.
So I do think, while impressive, some of the wins, you can contextualize, and even though it's different coaching staff and a lot of different players, the Vikings feel like one of those teams that primed for everyone to go, well, that was fun, but let's let the real big boys play here.
So as we get to one word here in a minute, that could be a team where I use the term like gravity or something, right? Like they come back down to earth. You know, it very well could be. It just doesn't look like that through 3 weeks. No, they certainly look like a team, and I hate tossing the word contender around this early in the season because so much can happen, right? God forbid Justin Jefferson could get hurt, and that could really foil the good things they've got going. But when it comes to them, they certainly look the part through 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean they're a contender yet, but they certainly look the part. Hunter, go ahead.
But it's, for me, like the Vikings have at least had actual benchmark games through the first 3 weeks with Houston and San Francisco. Like the Packers failed their one benchmark through 3 weeks, being the Eagles. So like for me, like I feel a lot better about the Vikings right now because at least I know more of what they are because they've done it against much better competition. Like it's the strength of schedule thing in college football. Like, there's a reason why we praise Bama and Georgia the way we do because of the gauntlet of a schedule they play in the SEC. It's the same thing. The Vikings have played a much better schedule through 3 weeks.
It's true. It's a good point.
Yeah, of course. Like but when you look at some of these games, every season you look back and go, "Oh, that was an odd little thing that happened there." And then we could be on Monday sitting here saying the Vikings are complete frauds.
Whatever, very well could be.
Whatever we saw happen in those 3 games, something weird was going on. Or we could be here saying, oh, man, even though we kind of were respecting them, we way underestimated how good they actually are. Like, both of those things could be the storyline come Monday.
I think you're totally right. And it could be very well, it could be one or the other, right? Like, it very well could be one of those two things we're saying on Monday. Or it could just be that was a really good football game, and those are two really good football teams. And that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. I think we're going to have a kind of an ugly shootout. But you think points. I mean, and you could be very right, because we saw the way Matt LaFleur exposed the Vikings' good defense, which they had again last year. We saw the way Matt LaFleur exposed them in week, what would that have been? Week 17 on New Year's Day? I think that was the second to last regular season game. Week 17 last year. So we will see. We'll preview that more coming up on Friday's show of Mr. Irrelevant. All right. It is the time you've all been waiting for. 3 weeks of the NFL season in the books. Week 4 starts tomorrow. It is time now to take a look at one word for all 32 NFL teams heading in to week number 4 of the NFL season. Hunter, go ahead.
Arizona Cardinals.
We start with the Arizona Cardinals. Frisky for the Cardinals.
The LA Rams.
Rally.
San Francisco 49ers.
Parody.
Seattle Seahawks.
Sneaky.
To the AFC East. Buffalo Bills.
Favorites.
New England Patriots.
Bad.
New York Jets.
Shiny.
Miami Dolphins.
I don't know if this is a word. Quarterbackless.
Sure. The NFC South. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Deceiving.
Atlanta Falcons.
Potential.
Carolina Panthers.
Dalton.
New Orleans Saints.
Gravity.
AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals.
Crash.
Cleveland Browns.
I don't know if a hyphenated word counts, but I'm going to use one. Self-destruct.
Baltimore Ravens.
King.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
System.
The NFC East. Washington Commanders.
Quarterback.
New York Giants.
Neighbors. There you go, Joshy.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Saquon for the second week in a row.
Dallas Cowboys.
Almost.
Butt cheeks.
AFC West. Denver Broncos.
Kicker.
Vegas Raiders.
Interim.
LA Chargers.
Khakis.
Oh my God. Kansas City Chiefs.
Indestructible.
And finally, the NFC North, the Detroit Lions.
Did we go through the entire league already? That was quick. Backfield.
Minnesota Vikings.
Best?
Chicago Bears. Okay.
That's it. That's the word.
And the Green Bay Packers. That's not a word.
And neither is this for the Green Bay Packers. Tiatis Blog. It's an acronym. This is a team that is Super Bowl level of good. Tiatis Blog.
Why can't you just
That was so
follow the
unnecessary.
rules?
Why did you just say contender? Super Bowl.
Like, Tiatis Blog. This is a team that is a Super Bowl level of good. No.
One also stuck out to me, Rams, and you said rally. Why don't you just say comeback?
Because you got to spice it up. Rally.
But like a rally is like a
other
baseball
things.
thing.
I was on. I'm not gonna lie to you here. A little peek behind the curtain. I was on. What's it called? The website where you find synonyms. Thesaurus.com.
Thesaurus. Oh my
Thesaurus.com.
God, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I was on Thesaurus. Well, you got to understand something. All right. So we've done this now 3 weeks. We will do this 14 more weeks, and we might even do this into the postseason, depending on the reception. Seems like people like it. Well, Joshy doesn't, but other people do.
Because you don't follow the rules. You douche.
I only break them. It's my game. I can do what I want. I'm struggling to keep up the originality a little bit. So sometimes you got to use some help. So Thesaurus.com. I was on there today, and rally was the word I came up with for the Rams on a big comeback win.
So what you're telling me is that we have to devote time in our pre-show meeting for me to vet this and like work with you on it? Like that's what this comes down to. Because this is going to be a long season if we keep doing this.
No, we're going to keep doing this, man.
Yeah, I know, but this just you're putting more work on my plate because you're unoriginal. Thank you.
Hey,
You
man.
douche.
I haven't asked you for help with this. Why do you keep calling me that?
Just trying to get it ahead of sexy.
Is the NFC North a 2-team race or a 3-team race? I guess that means how much do you value the Vikings? I think we all value the Packers at the same level, right? They're playoff good, if not division winning good, depending on how well Jordan Love plays on his way back. Detroit is 2-1. They're a good team. They're going to be in the postseason. We know that, unless something tragic
It doesn't feel right there in Detroit.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be as good as they were a year ago. That's why I think the Packers are very much still in the picture for the NFC North long term.
Like, I wouldn't vote for Detroit not to be in the playoffs, but their performances don't feel quite like Last year, they were just kind of dominating teams.
Yeah, but I would put this out there, right? So I use the word frisky to describe the Arizona Cardinals, who they beat 20-13. The Cardinals were always in it. The Cardinals are 1-2, but they've been in all 3 games they played in, right? They competed really well against Buffalo in Week 1, who, by the way, the term for Buffalo, favorites. I think they're the best team in the NFL.
I think MVP works really well there too, because
yeah, Josh Allen's unbelievable. Yeah, he had just an unbelievable game the other night against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I still think this is a 3-team race. And at the beginning of the season, I thought it was a 3-team race. I was just wrong about the 3 teams. Really wrong about the 3 teams. They wrote a song about it in the 1980s, and damn does it still hold true. The Bears still suck. I mean, they stink. They have no O-line. Caleb Williams, it's not all his fault, just doesn't look the part. So when it comes to the NFC North, Detroit and Green Bay, I'm good with. And you're right. Like, something doesn't necessarily feel right about Detroit, but they are such, like, grinded out football games.
Yeah.
And they have such a great 1-2 punch in the backfield. It's the best in the league with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think they're fine. It's a question of how much you value Minnesota at this point. And clearly I do. I think they're for real. Now, I don't think they are a 14-3 good team. I think they're going to come back to earth at some point. But through 3 weeks at 3-0 with wins over the Niners and Texans, it's just something I can't ignore. This could be the 3rd playoff team from the NFC North. And I still think it will be a 3rd place because I still think it's Green Bay and Detroit. But this is a good NFC North, and I'm intrigued by it going forward.
Do you guys remember that stretch of years for the NFC East where it was like the division winner would win it at like 9-7, and then you'd have usually Dallas and then either Philly or Washington go 8-8 to just miss? And like this feels like the division is going to do that. It's going to be like that tight, not quite at like that 500, but it's going to be like whoever wins it is going to win like 11 games, and then you're going to be like 10 games or something like that. It's going to be super tight, and I think they're all going to beat up on each other.
I could very well see a 12-5, 11-6, 10-7 scenario. That I can get down with. And I don't know what the math is to say. I think this is a really good division. I legitimately think this is one of, if not the best division in football. I don't know if they're the most interesting division in football. I still think that goes to the West in the NFC. San Francisco's all beat up. The Rams are weird. The Seahawks are undefeated. And I keep using the word frisky to describe they are a fun offense. I think they stink defensively, but offense, God, are they good. They've got pieces. I think Kyler is so much better than people give him credit for. Arizona is really intriguing to me. So I think the West is still like the most like, I've got my eye on that. That's interesting. But the North might be the best division in all of football. Now, you could obviously make that case about the AFC North as well, because Baltimore's still really good. Pittsburgh's undefeated. Cincinnati's in the toilet. And Cleveland's right there with them. The old saying, take the Cleveland Browns to the Super Bowl. It seems like they're taking the Cleveland Browns to the Super Bowl in Cincinnati is how I view that expression.
Did you just bring up a schoolyard?
Yeah, I mean, I was calling the Cleveland Browns poop while also tying in the Cincinnati
recess
Bengals.
joke.
Yeah, well. I thought I nailed it, though. You laughed. You just didn't turn your mic on for it.
I laughed at how pathetic it was.
I'm sick of you, dude.
In the Bengals' defense, though, like, they've started slow the last, 3 seasons. And then they turn it on and, end up being in the playoffs. So, this is just kind of their norm because I think it's because they don't play in the preseason. Again, I'm a preseason hardo, but, this is what they do.
I'll go ahead and say it. Joe Burrow and the Bengals are frauds.
Yeah. Oh, they're not frauds. They're just bad.
Frauds.
I don't think Joe Burrow's a fraud.
They're just starting slow.
But
I'm going to believe in them still.
Yeah. You think they're playoff good?
Fringe playoff. I'll put them there.
That's such a hedge. That's the biggest hedge.
I think they just miss out on the playoffs, but they would be the 8th team, is what I'm saying. They're the best of the non-playoff teams.
Sure, but I don't know. I haven't.
I'm not saying that's great, but I'm saying that they're going to win more games. They will look better. They just haven't been good the first 3 weeks of the season.
They won't go 0-17, but what they've done thus far is embarrassing, right? They've lost to the Patriots and the Commanders. Those are the 2nd and 3rd picks in the NFL draft this past year. Not great.
I don't know. Jaden Daniels looks legit.
No, he really does. He really does. As we work around the NFL now. But yeah, anyway. All right, a couple more things I want to get to before we wrap up. I don't know who was cutting the onions this morning, but this Aaron Jones Players Tribune piece had me feeling some type of way. I just want to pop up the final excerpt, if you will, from his piece in the Players Tribune. His final line.
This is your warning.
Thanks for seeing me. No G on the helmet Sunday. Always one in my heart, Aaron. For a guy that was getting a lot of crap the last week from Packers fans after saying he's having the most fun he's had in his career, or had in a long time, in Minnesota with a big win this weekend, I didn't expect this ahead of his homecoming on Sunday. And look, nobody epitomized the G in being a Green Bay Packer better than Aaron Jones. And you think of all the great moments, especially his latest and finals moments as a Green Bay Packer was that 5-game stretch where he was just going bananas, which trickled into the postseason. It was huge. It was huge for this offense's confidence. It was huge for the development of Jordan Love. It was huge for Matt LaFleur. What Aaron Jones did there in his final games as a Packer was huge. And to see his note, and it was much longer than that. It's a really good read if you haven't done it already. It's on the playerstribune.com. It's just cool to see that, like, he doesn't forget, how great he was in Green Bay and how much the fans appreciated him. And obviously he's paying that love back to the fans. It's cool. It's just a classy move by a classy dude. And while I hope he fumbles the football 17 times on Sunday and runs for negative 146 yards and 6 safeties, I'm still rooting for him to succeed outside of when he plays the Green Bay Packers. I hope it's an awful homecoming statistically, but if you boo, and take it from me, the captain of cheering at the stadium, if you boo Aaron Jones on Sunday, you're a douche. How's that, Joshy?
I think that's good. I think there's absolutely no reason to boo someone who clearly the franchise made a decision to move on from him with the contract that they did offer him. The one thing, and maybe I'm cynical, jaded, whatever it is.
Yes.
These player articles Players Tribune stuff never do it for me because they're so highly mediated and written by the people around them that I'm sure Aaron has input on it. It's just an outfit to trick guys like you.
Yeah, the things that, like, the ones that work are when they do, like, the tribute videos. Like, I'm trying to keep it on the rails.
It's not the very end there. Yeah, get it in there, right at the very end. It's done to trick guys like you. Like, was that necessary?
It was just a nice way of calling you dumb.
I'm not dumb. I appreciate his classiness. It's a classy move by Aaron Jones. I think I'm allowed to appreciate the classiness. Whatever, dude. I'm over it. Right.
You are a marketer's dream. You fall for everything.
When you watch a Burger King commercial or something, do you get hungry and want a burger? Are you that guy? You are, aren't you?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on this week, but the free advertising we're giving Burger King is at the wazoo, man. Because I called in from a Burger King on Monday. I don't know if you guys forgot that small detail, but anyway, I love the Burger King. All right, let's get to what we learned because I do want to dive into this a little bit deeper. And I am restricting Joshy and Hunter from having a what we learned today because we've all learned about this in the last 24 hours, and it is a banana story, and it is a really good light shined on the state of college football that we're in. But before we get there, of course, I was playing underdog when I was down in Tennessee. Of course I was. Started my streak. 3 picks. We're all good. We're still rolling. $1 to win over 700 if I get I think it's 10 more picks correct on the Underdog app. The Underdog Pick'em game is what we've been playing, though, all season. Josh, you giving out winners the other day here on Mr. Relevant. Nicely done. Hope you tailed him by using the promo code Good Karma on the Underdog app, or UnderdogFantasy.com is the website to play. Good Karma to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. It's really easy. All you do on the Pick'em app, you look at player projections, and you pick higher or lower. You think they'll go higher than the projected stat or lower than the projected stat. You can go anywhere between 2 to 8 picks in your Pick'em entry, all picking higher and lower, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money turn $1 into $1,000, turn $2 into $2,000, and so on and so forth on the Underdog app. Use promo code GoodKarma at sign up to get $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. There is specials every single day this week. A CD Lamb the last few weeks. As long as he gets over half a yard, it's a free pick. You get bonuses. You can up your entry by 30% on the Underdog app. The best way to watch football and play along with football all season long is on the Underdog app, UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code GoodKarma at sign up. Get $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Josh, you go ahead.
I have a Thursday night one here with the Mahomes gimme pick that they have
Yes,
available.
they do. Over half a yard, yep.
I put Malik Neighbors higher than 71.5 yards.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that looks good. 71.5. Ooh.
I actually pumped up the CD Lamb. Hunter, I feel like CD Lamb game is coming. We haven't really seen the full CD Lamb experience.
So clearly we're going higher than what, though?
Higher than 89.5.
Woo!
I think the Giants defense is
They're bad.
horrendous.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
So that is my little 3-picker I got there for tonight's game.
Mahomes higher than half a yard.
Correct.
Neighbors over higher than 71.5.
71.5.
Okay.
I think, to give Neighbors a little love here, I think he's like a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Already.
He's that good.
He's that good. And then CD Lamb higher than 89.5.
Correct.
All right, I like it.
There is also another one on there that I was looking at with Devin Singletary, the running back for the Giants. He's vulture protected for rushing or receiving touchdown. And the Cowboys' run defense is horrendous. So I might be bumping that up to the higher than 1.5 touchdowns and see where that takes me.
He would have had 2 last week, and he slid at the 1.
Yeah, so that's why.
True. He did slide at the 1. I did see that.
Plus, the
Helps me
multiplier
for
on
my
that's
fantasy season long.
4.17 times. Oof.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Profit boosts, free pick. All 3 of us are playing along. You might as well play along with us on the Underdog app, UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code GoodKarma, GOODKARMA at sign up. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. And look, we've been having a pretty good year picking higher and lower. Like, we're not struggling. I've got this good thing going on the streak. I'll be tweeting out my Thursday night entry tomorrow. I think I might be tailing Joshy on his hires. The free pick for Mahomes, higher on CeeDee Lamb, adjusting that a little bit, and then higher on maybe the Rookie of the Year frontrunner through 3 weeks, Malik Neighbors of the Giants. Underdog app, UnderdogFantasy.com. All right, time now for what we learned. This is just bananas. I mean, this just shines a light on the state in which college football is at. So Matthew Sluka is the new quarterback, or was the new quarterback at UNLV. UNLV with big wins, 2 Power 4 wins in the first 3 weeks of the season. They are 3-0, the Running Rebels are. Matthew Sluka says, I was told I was going to get $100,000 in NIL money. Tweets this out yesterday. I've decided to utilize my redshirt year, will not be playing in any additional games this season. I am committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program. So Matthew Sluka says, I didn't get my money. I'm out. Now, you could look at this one of 2 ways. Either A, you could look at it in the way of, if your job stopped paying you, would you continue to show up? Or you could look at it in the way of, he's a college quarterback, they're 3-0, they actually look like they have a decent shot to make the college football playoff. Why are you giving up? You're a quitter. It's one of 2 ways you can look at it. I'm actually really torn on the way I look at it. Because I get it, right? We live in the era of college athletics that's all based on dollar signs. And if you come here, we'll give you this. And if the university / the collective isn't living up to that, the player's there for no reason, right? I understand the season's off to a good start and things are going well. But if Sluka's not getting paid and he's taking the hits and he's playing with the team and he's getting wins and he's not getting what he was promised for doing said thing, I would understand the irritation. Now, the problem I have within all of this is that an agent is speaking on his behalf and his father is speaking on his behalf. And it's probably the smart play not to say a lot more than the statement in which you didn't mention NIL and you didn't mention dollar signs, but you mentioned promises, commitments, and representations. It's just weird to me. It's 100% on UNLV that this ever became a situation. But to redshirt and say, hey, I'm done, is quite the statement by Matthew Sluka. And that's the part I struggle with. I'm not saying continue to play, but there's probably better ways to leak this information and continue to play to put some pressure on UNLV than just say, screw it, we're done. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts on this, though. This is really the first major situation we've had in the NIL era where a player's just like, yep, didn't get my dollars, I'm out. It's a new era of college athletics, Hunter.
Well, he did play at Holy Cross before, so like he really only has that red shirt left. And since he only played in the 3 games, he still held that. So he was like kind of in a spot, I think, for the last few weeks where he was like trying to get something done with them, keeping it quiet, just being like, hey, like, let's get this fixed. Let's get this figured out. Like, what's going on here? And then realized, oh, this isn't going to get fixed. If I still want to actually play for a season at a higher level than Holy Cross, I've just got to sit out here at this point. So it's like, I get it on his end. And like, this is just the world that he's been put into of college football. So like, it'd be dumb of him to not take advantage of it to the fullest capability. It sucks that he's the first one that it deals with. But like you said, this is 100% on UNLV. Like, if I was a transfer player or a high school recruit, if they're looking at me, I'm probably not going there anymore. Because like you can't trust it.
Especially if they're making big promises,
Yep.
right? If they're making promises to you, then yes, I get where you're coming from on that. Now, as you continue to dive into this and read more into it, it doesn't sound like there was actually ever pen to paper of, hey, you're going to get paid $100,000. It was more so, hey, we're going to pay a $3,000 relocation fee, and the assistant coach was saying, yeah, you're going to get this bag, you're going to get all this money, yada yada. And it just obviously never came. They're not even paying for his housing in Las Vegas, Nevada, which I imagine is not cheap for a college quarterback. Joshy, your thoughts on this?
This was actually going to be what I learned or what we learned today. I think it's fascinating. I do think it's interesting. The initial report versus what his dad and agent have said versus now what the university is saying and some of the people in the athletic departments there. The NCAA is in a terrible spot, just in terms of where they stand amongst leagues and what power they have. And I'm never going to sympathize with them by any degree because they decided to wash their hands of the whole thing and just say everyone else figure it out. Mm-hmm. You don't love the appearance of someone saying, hey, you didn't give me what I was promised, and then there's not actually a promise. But these athletes haven't been paid for so long. I would place heavy money on maybe the numbers and the figures are different. But a kid doesn't step away from football, especially on a winning team, without some big promises actually being broken.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's any reason for this guy to maybe be like, sure, it could be deceiving and some of the numbers weren't actually promised, whatever. But I'm always going to side with the athlete, especially the college athlete at this point, with how much money the bigwigs and the organizations are making hand over fist on the backs of their labor. Mm-hmm. But it's just in such a gross spot that even though Saluka is probably the one here who is in the right and should be likable, it doesn't even make him necessarily that likable.
Oh, no.
And
No.
that's what it kind of leaves you, where you just feel gross about everyone and the whole process and how this has gotten to where we are now.
Let me run you through a true hypothetical. I'm not even going to use a name. I'm just going to say, let's say Wisconsin started the season off 3-0, which included a win over Alabama. And this happened to a Wisconsin quarterback. Are we looking at this the same way? Are we saying, oh my God, that guy's a quitter? Because if I'm a UNLV fan, I'm probably like, well, what the hell are we doing, A? But B, this guy's a quitter. Like, I think, I hate to use the term quitter because look, if I was showing up to ESPN Milwaukee and they stopped paying me, I probably wouldn't be here. right? You know, I wouldn't show up to work either. You know, I'd go play video games or something, go on a walk.
Find a new job.
Right, exactly. Anybody in their situation would do the same. So that's the struggle I have with all of this is if this happened to you, I don't think you'd be viewing this person as a quitter. And you wouldn't view yourself as a quitter. But it is a team sport. We're not that far removed from the day and age where all you needed was a full ride, as somebody I saw Jalen just pointed out on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chat. It's what it was 5 years ago. But also, it's not 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it wasn't right then. So
no, true.
It was never right what those kids were doing and what was being made off of their backs.
I'm just really excited to see.
In this situation, I could say definitively, I would be mad at Luke Fickell, Chris McIntosh, and whoever was the person who recruited him via the transfer portal.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel good and you don't feel great, but you have to look at the people who aren't delivering on their promises.
Yeah. And that's the ones you got to throw under the bus. So anyway, really interesting stuff. I imagine there will be more news to this because it seems like the story is evolving every 30 minutes as we continue to talk about it. So I imagine we might have to follow up on this on Friday. But this makes me miss. I did a show for 2 years with the great Pat Richter, the former multiple sport athlete at Wisconsin and athletic director, former Washington. At the time Redskins, but now Commanders, wide receiver way back in the day in the Sonny Jurgensen eras. He was a long-time athletic director at Wisconsin. I did a weekly show with him. And towards the end, we wrapped it up about a year and a half ago on ESPN Madison. And before the end, we were spending at least half of, if not the entire show, on the evolution of NIL. That's the guy I need to make a phone call to after this situation rolls out, because I imagine he's got some thoughts. But it is wild to see how this has evolved and changed. All right, that'll do it for us today. More Packers-Vikings preview, a little Badgers-USC preview coming up on Friday as well, and we are inching closer and closer to the MLB playoffs. Who will the Milwaukee Brewers host, either in the wild card round or the divisional round? It's looking like it's probably not going to be that, but we will see as we continue to inch closer. Great time of the year for sports, man. No better time of the year. We roll on with you back on Friday. Thanks to Joshy. Thanks to Hunter. We talk to you Friday beginning at 12:30. ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube, and available wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Wisconsin On Demand. This has been Mr. Irrelevant, presented by Door County Distillery. And thanks to our friends from Underdog. Use promo code GOODKARMA at sign up to get $1,000 bonus cash and a free pick. We'll talk to you on Friday. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf. Peace.